Welcome to Primetime News here on TV1. I'm Bisal Kapugay, bringing you the news for News First, where we are and always will be with the people. Let's first start off by taking a look at your headlines.
And a final point.
Sri Lanka wins the Asian Netball Championship.
They are defending champions. They are deserving of yet another undefeated series of matches here in Singapore.
Samantha Power meets President Wickremesinghe. Sri Lanka to receive another $20 million from the US. President gives ultimatum to political parties. Agree on electoral reforms or I will hold a referendum. Neither the president nor the government have the mandate of the people. The only alternative is to hold an election. A statement from Anurukumar Dissanayake. UN Human Rights Council sessions to begin tomorrow. Stop the suppression. Protests organised, demanding end to corruption. President Wickremesinghe to travel to the UK to pay final respects to the Queen.
First up in your sports news, Sri Lanka beat Singapore in the Asian Netball Championship finals and clinched the title of Asian Netball Champions for the 6th time.
I just want to kind of sense check here.
Sri Lanka had last won an Asian Netball Championship in the year 2018 and was the most successful team in the history of the Asian Championship, having a total of 6 trophies under their belt. Displaying their dominance in the championship, Sri Lanka entered the finals against Singapore undefeated in the first and second rounds of the championship. Singapore remained ahead in the first quarter of the match with a score of 19, while Sri Lanka was on 13.
Almost there. Our third quarter was Sri Lanka. They deserved it. 6. Perhaps 6 in a row. Singapore won it 3 times. Wow. Okay. Crowd absolutely loved it.
However, Sri Lanka managed to command the remaining 3 quarters and beating the host Singapore 63-53.
Defending champions, they are deserving of yet another.
By securing the title of Asian Netball Champions, Sri Lanka has also qualified for the World Netball Championships due to be held in Cape Town of South Africa.
Champions, Sri Lanka!
විශාල සහයෝගයකින් කටයුතු කරා. පටන්ගත් දවසේ පටන් අද වෙනකම් අපරාධික කණ්ඩායමක් විදිහට ඉදිරියට ආවා. ඉතින් මේක අවස්ථාවක් කරගන්නවා මගේ කණ්ඩායමට ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙන්න දක්වපු සහයෝගයට සහ එකමුතුවෙන් ක්‍රීඩා කරපු විලාශයට පුහුණුකරු ඇතුළු නිලධාරීන් මණ්ඩලයටත් ක්‍රීඩා අමාත්‍යාංශයට විශේෂ ස්තුතියක් පළ කරන අවස්ථාවේ ඒ වගේම ශ්‍රී ලංකා වාසී සියලු දෙනාට ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, President Ranil Wickremesinghe, issuing a communique, congratulated the Sri Lanka netball team for being crowned as champions in Asia. The president said that the team was successful in emerging as champions because of the unity and dedication of the team. The Minister of Sports, Roshan Ranasinghe, also issued a communique. Meanwhile, Pakistan won the toss and invited Sri Lanka to bat in the final of the 2022 Asia Cup in Dubai this evening. Sri Lanka posted 142 runs for the loss of 6 wickets at 17 overs currently.
The fact that this pitch was used, and that will be a wide and risk. Got him! There's an Naseem Hasan Shah. What a delivery! Beautiful through the covers. The over the top. Same. If you look at the balance when he's another cover drive from Sri Lanka. Naseem Sri Lankan cricket. Timing. Where's the timing? Manoff is trying to get under it. Good catch. Doing exactly what he's
innings in, and that's what makes that
bold. What a delivery!
up nicely.
Yeah, what it's looking to do. What a delivery once again. This might go. Good delivery, but he's giving it pace. That's why
Ranti. Another
Beautifully, Shanaka gone for two.
Now back to more news. US Aid Administrator Samantha Power announced $20 million will be granted to Sri Lanka as emergency humanitarian assistance. She made this statement at a press briefing held at the US Embassy in Colombo today.
Yesterday, I announced that the United States is providing an additional $40 million to get fertilizer into the hands of as many as 1 million farmers ahead of the upcoming planting season. Crucial assistance that will meaningfully boost the country's harvest production and yields. Today, I am pleased to announce an additional $20 million to provide humanitarian assistance to Sri Lankans battling hunger and malnutrition throughout the country.
US Aid Administrator informed Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe of the importance of political reforms.
But assistance alone will not put an end to this country's woes. I stressed to the Sri Lankan president in my meeting earlier today that political reforms and political accountability must go hand in hand with the economic reforms and economic accountability. Sri Lanka's vibrant civil society must have the space that they need to raise their voices and hold the government accountable. This is not in tension with economic stability. It is the means by which the government will obtain insight into what is working and what is not working at the grassroots level. International investor confidence will increase as the government tackles corruption and proceeds with long-sought governance reforms.
Samantha Power elaborated on the role of the United States, China and the Paris Club in restructuring Sri Lanka's debt.
As Sri Lanka seeks to emerge from this economic crisis, the United States, as a creditor and as a member of the Paris Club, stands ready to participate in the restructuring of Sri Lanka's debt. It is imperative that all of Sri Lanka's creditors, most notably the People's Republic of China, cooperate in this process openly and on comparable terms with each other. When debt becomes unsustainable, as it so clearly has in Sri Lanka, the stakes of that cooperation can mean the difference between life or death, prosperity or poverty. You know, we provide grants. We're not interested in increasing indebtedness to the United States. We're interested in, one day, hopefully not too far off in the future, our relationship with Sri Lanka being strictly a trade relationship and not an aid relationship. We want our resources to help unlock the potential that we know is there without strings attached. And we think this is a really important moment in Sri Lanka for that same mindset of standing with our friends, no strings attached, what is in the interest of economic stability and economic independence for this country. And I think that is the sort of mindset that informs the kinds of efforts that we will make to provide economic support going forward.
The US Aid Administrator also commented on the upcoming UN Human Rights Council sessions.
I think that the United States engages, as part of the core group in Geneva, recognizing that I think we all agree that it is in Sri Lanka where those mechanisms are most needed, and there is a lot of technical support and a lot of expertise in the international community that is ready to be brought to bear. And we did, again, engage with the president on this today, and it is clearly, it is clear that these are issues that are very much part of, what brought at least some Sri Lankans out to demand change. And it is clear that the commitments that have been made in the past, again, haven't delivered sufficiently to address again, those deeply held aspirations.
U.S. Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, was also present at the media briefing.
So I think there are definitely institutional reforms, strengthening institutions like the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, the Office of Missing Persons, making sure they're well-resourced and independent. Just many of the steps that we've heard steps being addressed, but whether the implementation will be complete and true and lasting. That's something that I think we and the international community and the Sri Lankan people are really seeking to encourage the government.
Visiting U.S. diplomat Samantha Power, who is the administrator of U.S. aid, met with President Ranil Wickremesinghe this morning.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe thanked the administrator of USAID, Samantha Power, for the assistance of $40 million extended to the farmers of Sri Lanka. Speaking at the meeting, President Wickremesinghe informed Samantha Power on the progress Sri Lanka has made in establishing democracy in the country.
As far as democracy items are concerned, the 22nd Amendment is before Parliament. We are waiting for the Parliament to pass it. The oversight committees are back again, and we'll be looking forward to support from the USA, with one difference, that in addition to the members of Parliament, there will be 5 youth representatives, people under 35, who will be there. They have the right to ask questions to the chairman, and they cannot contribute to the main report, but we are giving them addendum, so they can say whatever they want on the report. Thereafter, it will be in print. This is the first time it's happening in the world, and we'll have to select the 5 members. What's called a youth parliament, that will legislate for that and bring it under the law.
The Sri Lankan president also said that he has given an ultimatum to political parties to decide on electoral reforms that have been stalled.
I'm going to call the parliament to say once and for all that they must agree on electoral reforms. This has been going on. The parties are arguing among themselves. I give them 6 months. If they don't, I'll have a referendum and ask the country which system they want. Because the political parties can't be putting this off forever. They have to bite the bullet at some stage. So if they are not willing, I have not told them yet, we'll go for a referendum on the major reforms.
The president also said that the former Speaker Jaya Surya and Victor Ivan have come up with a concept called the People's Councils at grassroots level. The head of state also commented on the Prevention of Terrorism Act and the proposed reforms.
PTA detentions, we've talked with the Tamils, we've agreed on a formula that will set off against the judgment the period in detention. Since they have all had more than 10 years, no judgment will more than 10 years. It will be out except for the few who had bombed the Temple of the Tooth and the assassination, I think, of 1 or 2 other members. Thereafter, I've asked the intelligence agencies to identify all the Muslims under detention after April Easter bomb who can be released. We've asked the Scotland Yard to come in, review the reports and come to a final conclusion on this whole issue. Was there a hidden hand behind the bombing? And if so, who's the hidden hand?
USAID Administrator Samantha Power, speaking at the meeting, told President Wickremesinghe that the highest levels of government in the United States is fully aware of the situation in Sri Lanka.
We are really aware at the highest levels of the U.S. government of just how perilous this moment is for you. It is so important in a time of crisis for people to come together. And, we certainly are here to come together with you and to help take advantage of this rare window of opportunity, also to make the kinds of changes, for you to be able to make the kinds of changes that have been proposed for so long. I mean, questions about whether the private sector can be unleashed. You have such an incredible private sector, such entrepreneurship, but the government, over so many years has largely stood in the way of unlocking that potential instead of fueling it. Mangala used to say, as you know, government has no business running business. And, what was done in the telecom sector, if that could be done in other sectors in an expeditious and transparent way, just again, to unlock the potential of your people, it would be incredible.
Now, the district conference of the lawyers' organization of the Jathika Jana Balavega was held in Colombo today. JJB leader Anru Kumar Dissanayaka chaired the conference.
මේ ආණ්ඩුවට ජනවරම් දැන් රට පාලනය කරන්න. විශේෂයෙන් මේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා
This government has no mandate, especially the president. The security of the country should be ensured and the executive power of the people must be vested with the president elected by the people. He has not been elected by the people of this country. He was selected under provisions of Article 40 of the Constitution when the office of the president becomes vacant. Sovereignty is vested with the people. This president has not been chosen by the people. How can a person who was rejected by the people at a general election be appointed as the president and exercise the powers of the executive? Therefore, the power that he exercises is problematic constitutionally. Secondly, what was the base of the mandate that the Rajapaksas were given by the people? The central bank bond scam was the main factor. The sale of the Hambantota port was another primary factor. The Easter Sunday attack was another factor. It was for these reasons that the power was given. So how can Ranil Wickremesinghe inherit a mandate that the people gave when it was given against him? Is this ethical? If the 52-day government during 2018 was undemocratic, then this is even more undemocratic. A new mandate of the people needs to be obtained. For the first time, charges on economic crimes are being levelled against us at Geneva. These are serious charges because it must be established both nationally and internationally that those responsible for economic crimes will be dealt with by the law. People who were aware of the economic dangers that were imminent hid it from the public eye. Cabral, Basil Rajapaksa, Artigala, P.B. Jayasundara and Professor Lakshman are among them. It is important to build faith among the public that these people who are responsible for this will be punished. If not, we cannot overcome this. The rule of law must be established in the country because the political establishment of the country is above the law. We will give you an assurance that we will change the political culture of this country. Therefore, I believe that the solution is not to flee, but to change this culture.
A protest was held in Geneva of Switzerland today, demanding the government of Sri Lanka to protect human rights, take action against corruption, and enforce the law against those who looted public funds and destroyed the economy of the country.
The protest was staged in Geneva, Switzerland. When we were demanding for our rights peacefully, without any sort of violence, what did they do when we were fighting for our freedom like that? They even attacked our brother here, attorney at law Nuwan Bopage. Many children got the protein that they need not by drinking milk but by eating the dal that was cooked at home. Today, however, the situation in Sri Lanka is such that people can't even afford dal and malnutrition has increased. You all know how our brothers and sisters suffered in fuel queues and even died in the past.
Meanwhile, a protest was staged opposite the United Nations office in Colombo today. The protesters demanded for the government to stop the suppression and arrest of activists.
Accountability is something that has been of severe shortage in the recent past of Sri Lanka. No matter, be it may socio-political concerns, be it may economical concerns or financial, there has been no accountability. So we are here to call for accountability and to persuade the international community, led by the United Nations, to come forward and assist Sri Lankan citizens in their rightful voice to uphold accountability as well as make the reformations and changes that were long awaited in the political framework of Sri Lanka.
The 51st session of the United Nations Human Rights Council is due to begin in Geneva tomorrow.
The 51st sessions of the UN Human Rights Council will continue until the 7th of October. During the sessions on Sri Lanka, the progress made in reconciliation and accountability and further options for advancing accountability will be discussed. A Sri Lankan delegation including Foreign Minister President's Council Ali Sabri and Minister of Justice President's Council Vijayadasa Rajapaksa are currently in Geneva to attend the sessions. Meanwhile, a group of special representatives from the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, including parliamentarians Dr. Kavinda Jayawardena, Mujibur Rahman and attorney at law Eranda Valiyanga, have also travelled to Geneva to attend the sessions. We hope to discuss the fact that the victims of the April 21st attacks did not get justice for 3 years now. The people of our country are suffering economically. We need international support. Therefore, we hope to direct the attention of the international community on the hardships faced by Sri Lankans. We, as the main opposition party, are ready to provide leadership in holding discussions with senior officials of the UNHRC to help build the economy of this country and also establish democracy, social justice and the rule of law. Attorney at law Nuwan Bopage is also in Geneva to attend the sessions.
Meanwhile, various views were expressed regarding the position of Sri Lanka at Geneva. Yesterday I saw that some people had gone to Geneva. They are going to Geneva to betray the country. Now they are trying to latch on to another topic. All these people who went there are working against our country. However, the opposition says that they have to exert this pressure on the government to protect the people of Sri Lanka, as the government has taken away the people's right to live. Generally, only matters concerning human rights violations are discussed here. But for the first time in history, the economic crimes committed by the government have been included in the resolution. Besides the matters that were included in the past, the manner in which the government destroyed the economy has also been included in the resolution. The destruction of the economy is also considered a crime, because the entire world knows that about 60 to 70% of the aid loans that Sri Lanka got had been redeposited in foreign banks. There are attempts to strangle Sri Lanka at Geneva. These are issues that can be resolved through discussions. When Joseph Stalin was arrested, he was released soon. Now Lahiru Weerasekara has been arrested. That has stopped to a certain degree. We also proposed to the government to end the matter surrounding the arrest of Damita Aberatna and grant her bail instead of taking these matters to Geneva. All political parties have a duty to ensure that Sri Lanka does not get caught in the noose of the Geneva Human Rights Council. The National Trade Union Centre is of the stance that politicians who looted the public funds and destroyed the country's economy cannot represent the country at the United Nations Human Rights Sessions. The world has acknowledged that the politicians in Sri Lanka are corrupt, thieves and scammers. When these matters are being discussed at the UN Human Rights Council, can any of these politicians go there and speak without any shame? Have they taken any measures against this? Has even one thief been apprehended? Are these politicians attempting to provide any concessions to the people at the time that the country is suffering? Instead, they are stealing from the fuel shipments and the coal shipments that are coming to the country. These politicians have brought shame to our country in the face of the world. The United Nations Human Rights Council will be discussing on the need for Sri Lanka to focus on taking steps to punish the corrupt politicians who are responsible for stealing public assets. Will this Ranil Rajapaksa corrupt government throw any of these politicians in prison instead of awarding them ministerial portfolios? So when these matters are being discussed at the Human Rights Council, can these politicians go there and speak without any shame? Can Ranil Wickremesinghe go and address the United Nations Human Rights Council? Can the Minister of Justice address the Human Rights Council? The entire world knows that they are thieves, but they are not ashamed. They have lost their shame.
Now in an update from the Asia World Cup currently happening in Dubai. Sri Lanka finished their innings with 20 overs down, adding a hopeful 170 runs for 6 wickets. Banuka Rajapaksa added a splendid 71 runs for 45 balls, while Wanidhu Hasaranga brought in 36 runs in 21 balls. Now back to the news. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says that more than 3,500 people who contributed ideologically to the change the Gotabaya Rajapaksa government have been arrested since the 9th of May.
वर्तमान जनाधिपतिතුමා
How did the current president come to power? Because of the people's struggle of this country. But after coming into power, what is happening today is threats are being leveled, government repression and state terrorism. We heard that by now over 3,500 people have been arrested and over 1,200 have been remanded. We all know that the current president got into power with the help of the Rajapakshas and the port tour. Now the ship is sinking. But in front of this disaster, the government is appointing dozens of ministers. Why are these ministerial positions given? To satisfy those 134. Now the government's agenda is not focused on taking care of the 22 million people of this country, but to comfort their ministers.
A decision has been reached to not appoint separate secretaries to state ministries. Secretary to the President Saman Ratnayaka informed the ministerial secretaries of this decision through a circular. According to the circular, since a separate quota will not be assigned to state ministries, a senior additional secretary from the ministry must be appointed to coordinate the affairs of the state ministers. Accordingly, the services of the state ministry must be fulfilled through the approved staff assigned for the ministry, and new requests for appointments must not be made. Office logistics for staff ministries must be sorted out within the ministry building itself. A maximum of 11 staff members can only be assigned for the duties of state ministries. A maximum of 3 official vehicles can be assigned for the state minister's affairs. A fuel subsidy of 500 litres per month for official vehicles will also be granted.
37 state ministers have been appointed, and the state ministers have said that they are working without salaries. Working without salaries mean not getting the minister's salary. As MPs, we get a salary of 54,000 rupees. When you become a state minister, it is about 64,000 rupees, and therefore the difference is 10,000 rupees. Even if 40 state ministers are appointed, even if they do not take salary for a month, the aggregate of the money saved by not paying the salaries of all the state ministers is 400,000 rupees. Even if the ministers don't get the money to their hands, almost 2 million is being spent on each minister. So they are talking about saving 400,000 rupees while spending 800 million per month for the 40 state ministers. These are all lies. All this is done to bring Namal Rajapaksa into the cabinet of ministers.
Several parties supporting the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna held a press conference at the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna party office at Nelum Mawatha today.
These people have accepted a contract to attack and destroy the patriotic group led by the Podujana Peramuna, which is the strongest political movement in this country. To defeat that contract, our young MP Namal Rajapaksa has started to reorganize the Pohottua and fulfill his responsibility. That is what they are trying to attack. As a very strong political party, the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has resumed village-level activities. As a young leader who has political experience, having his father as president and as prime minister, as well as being a member of cabinet, and as a young leader, he will stand up for the welfare of the people at the next election. Campaigns to slander him have already begun. An opinion was made that Ranil cannot do anything, but he came forward and became the president of the country at a time nobody expected. Namal Rajapaksa has led the new initiative of the SLPP for the second time at the village level. Journalists raised questions on the selection of chairpersons for the COPE and COPA committees from the opposition. Neither the president nor I can propose the chairman of any parliamentary committee. The members who are elected to that committee will choose who will be the chairman. The issue is not whether it will be given to the opposition or to the ruling party. Now COPA and COPE are the committees that investigates the audit reports and the Auditor General's report. So whether there is someone from the ruling party or the opposition is not a big issue here.
Let's now cross over to a short commercial break and come back for more news.
News First, main sponsor.
Anka eke arakshita iti gini petti. Surya gini petti.
bringing happiness to the people. Gamadha, for the people, by the people.
An exhibition of new innovations powered by renewable energy was launched today.
The exhibition was organized in association with the All Ceylon Buddhist Federation, Inventors Commission and the Sri Lanka Clean Energy Authority. The exhibition that began under the auspices of Minister of Plantations and Industries Dr. Ramesh Patirana will continue tomorrow as well. People dislike power cuts. We have somehow halted power cuts for one area because of a small hydropower plant. The Daraniyagala, Ruanvalla and Yatiyantota areas do not experience power cuts. This is a victory for us. Even under a situation like this, we can produce 4,000 megawatts of power. The CEB has become somewhat flexible. In the past, they did not even provide approval for solar panels fixed on household roofs. They constantly said that the grid cannot be balanced. The grid that they said cannot be balanced is now being balanced. Due to this, we have observed a trend of renewable energy generation and have encouraged them. The CEB has now agreed to purchase a unit at 35 rupees from these producers.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara today responded on Twitter to a statement made by Dr. Venerable Omalpe Sobitha during a protest staged by the group of Venerable Theros recently.
During a protest held recently, Venerable Dr. Omalpe Sobitha said that he will not pay the electricity bills as the prices are unbearable and that the electricity tariffs had to be increased because of the corrupt activities of politicians. Writing on Twitter, Minister Kanchana Wijesekara responded by saying, quote-unquote, "Unfortunately, the Venerable Thera falls into the same category as the political category, as stated below." The minister went on to note, quote-unquote, "Non-payment of electricity bills will result in disconnection."
And up next is Crime Watch.
Crime Watch.
Skeletal remains of a 7-year-old was found at a mine located close to a paddy field in the Udadelwala area in Ratnapura. According to the police, the child had been murdered about 4 months ago. Police discovered the skeletal remains based on a statement provided by the mother of the deceased child. After an inspection by the Ratnapura magistrate, the skeletal remains were transferred to the Ratnapura hospital. It has been revealed that the father of the child has 3 wives and that all of them live in the same house. The deceased child had been assaulted over an incident where a jewel belonging to a child of another wife of the same father was lost. After the child was assaulted, the mother of the child had complained to the police that the child was missing. 2 suspects have been arrested. Police operations are ongoing to arrest the chief suspect and 1 other suspect.
Crime Watch.
2 suspects have been arrested for assaulting officers of the Putlam Division's narcotic unit and obstructing their duties. The arrest was carried out by the officers of the Anamadu police. The officers of the narcotics unit who inspected 2 people suspected of being in possession of drugs had gone with the suspects for another round of inspection. At that time, a group of people attacked the officials with poles and weapons, according to the police. The 4 injured officers are currently receiving treatment at the Putlam hospital.
A young woman has died and 2 others have been injured in an accident near St. Mary's Church in Gatambe, Kandy. The 26-year-old girl was a resident of Hirasagala, Kandy. When the accident occurred, she was on her way to the St. Mary's Church with her mother and brother. The injured mother and brother are receiving treatment at the Kandy National Hospital. The police said that careless driving was the cause of the accident.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe arrived at the British High Commission to extend condolences over the death of Queen Elizabeth II today.
President's Media Division issuing a statement today said President Ranil Wickremesinghe, who arrived at the British High Commission, met British High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Sarah Hulton, and extended his condolences over the death of Queen Elizabeth II. President Wickremesinghe was welcomed by the British High Commissioner and he made a condolence note in a special book of condolence placed at the British High Commission and appreciated the great service rendered by Her Majesty to the people all over the world during her 7-decade reign. The President is scheduled to participate in the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II, which is to be held at Westminster Abbey in London on the 19th of September.
The state funeral of Her Majesty the Queen will take place at Westminster Abbey on Monday the 19th of September.
The Queen's coffin was moved from Balmoral Castle to Edinburgh in a 175-mile-long journey by road. Thousands of people lined the route to pay their respects as the late monarch was driven. The procession made its way towards Aberdeen, passing through villages the Queen got to know well during her stays in Scotland. Her coffin at the Palace of Holyrood House will rest in the throne room until the afternoon of Monday the 12th of September. On that day, a procession will be formed on the forecourt of the Palace of Holyrood House to convey the coffin to St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh. The King and members of the royal family will take part in the procession and attend a service in St Giles Cathedral to receive the coffin. Her Majesty's coffin will then lie at rest in St Giles Cathedral, guarded by vigils from the Royal Company of Archers to allow the people of Scotland to pay their respects. The state funeral of Her Majesty the Queen will take place at Westminster Abbey on Monday the 19th of September.
Today is day 7 of the 4th edition of the Divisavya program, seeking to support the most impoverished communities in Sri Lanka.
The Divisavya program is supported by LOLC Holdings. The program for the day was launched at the Vattala Divisional Secretariat in the Gampaha district. Essential relief packages were delivered to families in need that were identified in the Gampaha district. Under the Divisavya program, essential goods are being distributed to low-income families facing serious financial difficulties across Sri Lanka.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News here on TV1. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe and take care.